Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw Review.
Welcome, everybody, to the August 1st, 2016 episode of Monday Night Raw. That's right. Wrestling to the Max is doing that Raw review for you guys, and we are excited about doing it. I am your host, Gary Vaughn. I am sitting here with the co-host, of course, Mr. Paul Leeser.
Heyo.
And, of course, our producer and co-host, Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, dudes?
And this is our actual first edition that we're going to try on video. We did the last one, but we didn't keep it on YouTube, I don't believe. And so we're going to actually try to post this one. So hopefully it looks good. Hopefully it's high definition. That's what we're trying to go for. We're all working to get this thing better and cleaned up, but here we are. But guys, the most important thing is talking about Raw. This is the second one of the new era. So let's go ahead and do this thing. Let's take it away.
1 second. I'm always trying to do two things at once.
I know, Mr. Dual task.
Yes.
But you got to as producer.
Yes. Always, not always the easiest thing to do. So they started the show with kind of a cool looking last week on Raw thing. And then they had Sasha Banks come out to be the first person you see on Raw. No authority figures this time, so that's a plus. She kind of talks about winning the title and sort of wanting to kick things into a different gear and all being about, the fans chant "you deserve it" at her and all that stuff. And then Charlotte comes out and Charlotte refers to Sasha Banks as a one-night stand champion, and Sasha has the burn of pretty damn good burn of telling her, well, you're Ric Flair's daughter. Wasn't for a one-night stand, you may not be here. So,
burn.
Pretty nasty. Jericho tells her to be quiet about 1,000,000 times to be annoying, of course. And then Enzo eventually comes out after Jericho gets... I think he gets burned here too at some point. And Enzo also burns Jericho, saying basically that, he's like that guy that keeps writing things and then he never hits send. You're waiting for the actual thing to happen. Enzo makes a sex joke at Sasha Banks, wanting to make a deposit in her bank. And, then Charlotte, of course, also has to tell, Enzo, hey, we found out that, you're pretty soft when it comes to the bedroom. And, so this went on for a while. This went on for like 22 minutes. Nick Foley came out. And eventually we get the tag match that we kind of all knew was happening. The tag match I thought was fine. I didn't think it was anything, out of this world or whatever. Then you had... Jericho beat up Enzo and Big Cass came out, so Jericho ran off. I mean, didn't take him long. It took him about a week to start the opening promo again. What'd you think, Gary? Just, last week they kind of started the show. They let it kind of be about the wrestling, and you didn't really see the authority figures again that much, but going back to that tried and true formula.
What was most interesting at this point to me was the great intro of Sasha Banks, just because of the fact it was one of the biggest parts of Raw, excluding Finn Balor. And I think it's kind of a cool thing as well, being the fact that it is the women's division, a division that was once really hot, and then they slowed it down, and it kind of got tapered off for a while. So it's nice to see that they're putting emphasis, especially at the start of Raw, to do this. The beginning and end of Raw is really some of the biggest parts of the show. You got to get the fans hooked. You got to find a way, and usually the intro is there to do that. So I think that's awesome. I think they kind of played on the hype of Sasha Banks. And what ensued here, it was kind of corny, kind of cheesy, if you ask me personally. I love the whole Enzo thing. We all do. And without Enzo and Kaz together, this is a great way just to do something fun, have Sasha Banks involved, and of course, get Chris Jericho on the other side. So it was annoying because Chris Jericho at this point in time, the character is annoying. But other than that, it was okay. Paul, I didn't mind this segment. It was just, like I said, cheesy.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch this part of the show yet. I did manage to catch the last half, but this sounded okay. Sort of as the night goes on, it's sort of weird because the tag division isn't super strong outside of your top 2 or 3 teams, and your top 2 teams are already busy in a feud on Raw, so they had to essentially build a team for Enzo to cast a feud with, which is amusing and hilarious and all those fun words combined with how poorly they've been booking the rest of this division. But this sounded fine. It's interesting that they let the women open the show. I find that very cool, and hopefully they let that keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out later that it's Kevin Owens that is watching Chris Jericho's back, and so it will be Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho against Enzo and Cass. I mean, I don't know that you can really complain about having a tag team with 2 guys that have as great chemistry as Jericho and Owens do going against Enzo and Cass. But that does say a lot about how you feel about your tag division. When the only other tag guys that we saw on the show were really Golden Truth and the Shining Stars, and something from last week because of the Pokemon Go thing. And it almost seems like Golden Truth are headed for a breakup after what we saw with the whole. Again, throughout the night, we see Golden Truth doing stuff, and it's Goldust trying to tell Truth that he's playing Pokemon Go too much, and it's distracting him. And of course, that comes to fruition at the end there when they have that match, and Truth playing too much Pokemon Go causes them to. I mean, when you've lost a tracker and you don't know where everybody is, it's even worse now, right? Like, so it kind of makes sense, Nintendo took the tracking off, so Truth has to go crazy trying to find those Pokemon.
Oh boy.
It was quite goofy, quite silly.
See, I made it more logical than WWE would probably do.
Yeah.
But,
it just, what's the point in this? I mean, the point is to get what? To make the, one thing, the comedy, kind of become serious. I mean, because once you're kind of alluding to Goldust getting aggravated and eventually breaking up this team. Is that their whole ploy? I thought these guys were great together to be the comedy, and to lose that, it's going to be kind of sad if they go down that road. It seems they're going down that road, but I enjoy the Pokemon Go stuff. It's relevant. It's kind of funny.
How do you feel about all the Pokemon Go, Paul?
All right, it's like Gary said, it's relevant, and that's something WWE doesn't always hit on. So good on them. But you need tag teams. I don't know if splitting Golden Truth is really going to do anything for anybody.
I don't know how it really helps any, other than, okay, you have 2 more guys you can add to that lower mid card, which already has enough problems. You're still having guys that are having to appear on Superstars because you still don't have enough time for them. So, I mean, I don't know that you need any more lower card singles guys at this point, other than having different guys for them to feud with down the line, or just to kind of have them beat. So we have the 2 squash matches again for Braun Strowman and Nia Jax. They have the in the ring interview, and Corey Hollis is playing Evan. I don't know what his last name is. As he says, well, hey man, I get $1,000 for this, just doing this match, and if I win, I get $5,000. So I like that they added some reality to it. He does get money for this appearance, and then adding the whole I get a winner's purse if I happen to win. Well, of course, Braun Strowman's gonna whoop him, and that's Braun Strowman for you. Nia Jax does the same thing to Ariel Monroe, and she actually doesn't win with the damn leg drop, thank goodness, because that was a dumb move.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was glad when she dropped it in NXT. I don't know why they had to have her do it last week, but what do you think of the squashes here?
I like the purse thing, because we haven't seen money being involved within the realm of WB in a long time. I mean, that's been forever, and it's so cool to see that they are using money as an influence for a wrestler to win a match. I mean, to me, that's something that was great from back in the day that has been long lost, and it's amazing to see it back. And even just a small little minuscule format, it's a pleasant thing to have, because that little guy had something to fight for. Even though he had no chance, he had something to fight for. I would love to see him use this in a bigger match again. You used to see Ric Flair and guys like that battle it out for cash. I mean, come on, who says that anybody else in this main roster, they'd be millionaires, but I'm sure they could use some extra cash anyway, So I like that part. Besides that, the squashes are squashes. I kind of wish they would have, made it known once again that maybe that the young lady that was going to face off against Nia Jax could win that money too. I wish that could be kind of reiterated. It's not just the men's division; it's both divisions.
I don't know if you need to reiterate, but squashes are squashes, and I mean it's cool that they added that nice little wrinkle in there. But the result was never in doubt. Obviously, the squashes and Braun and Nia continue to look powerful as we chug along on the Raw train here.
But do you disagree with me about the whole money thing? I think it's nice to have back, even if it is small.
There's a lot of old school flair in these sort of things. You get it in the in-ring interviews. You get it in the little money bits you got there. So I mean, it's a nice wrinkle, but I mean, it ultimately, you know what you're getting here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true. We know what we're getting. I mean, something I forgot to touch on when we were talking about Sasha and all that stuff is there's this seeming negative terrain that's coming out about people feeling that Sasha is getting the Roman treatment, and that it seems people are feeling that Sasha's being forced down our throats. I don't know why this is sort of becoming a thing, but I did see it pop up on various sites, including Bleacher Report, in my email for some reason. I swore I took that thing off my email. It still shows up. But, yeah, I mean, do you feel like, is it possible that WWE is sort of force-feeding Sasha? Could they have put someone else in that role of being the first really victorious person over Charlotte? Or, I mean, it always seemed like Sasha should be that person that's leading the charge, at least until Bayley comes up or whatever.
What do you think, Gary?
I think that this whole thing about shoving down their throats. I like what a fan said to Animal. Because he actually went on his Twitter and said something to this. Like Sasha Banks is being shoved down their throats. Blah blah blah. And I think one of the fans kind of responded to the fact that we don't like it when people are being shoved down our throats unless it's someone we want shoved down our throats. And Sasha Banks is kind of a fan favorite. And, we all love The Rock. We all love Stone Cold being shoved down our throats, being a part of every, other segment when they were on. Triple H wasn't in that realm. People kind of got tired of the, Triple H era because he was a fan favorite to an extent, but nothing to the extent of Rock and Austin. And, Sasha Banks, of course, I'm not mentioning in that light. That's a big light to be shined on. But I want to put her in a spot where right now people are enjoying her. They want to see her. They want to see these young stars. And so I think that for me personally, I think it's a little overwhelming to say that because people are actually clamoring on the IWC to see that, whereas I don't think there's a very big ratio that doesn't want to. I don't know, Paul. I mean, that's just kind of the way I feel.
So there's forcing people down your throats is pretty much just a term for being pushed to the moon, and that's some people it works for, some it doesn't. Roman, I think, had a lot of hate going towards him just because of the way they booked him. Not because of who he was, because clearly he was pretty over with the Shield. People liked him. It wasn't just the casuals and stuff like that. Sasha does have the benefit of having the IWC on her side, but the women's division is so shallow and so... It's still booked differently enough to where I feel like the Jesus push or the push to the moon or whatever you want to term it works very much so for them because there's so few. And especially when you look at that roster... There's not a lot of challengers you could have thrown into the fray other than Sasha. So I personally don't have a problem with it. I think it makes sense coming out of. I mean, granted, these two do have a large history with each other. If you watch NXT or anything like that, so there's that built-in stuff you have there already, and it was kind of going this way before Sasha got hurt. So I wouldn't really call it a push from sort of out of nowhere that's being shoved down our throats. They were building to this the whole time. I think they just had to shortcut it in time for SummerSlam and due to the injury and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I kind of see it that way too. I mean, yes, they kept her off TV too, which was something that's different than we kind of saw it with Roman as well when he got his nose injury, and they did it with the Royal Rumble, but I think that was more of a we knew that the hate was already on Roman, and WWE was logically doing that to try to get the hate off of him or whatever, and it ultimately did not work. But with Sasha, they kept her off TV because they wanted to make whatever they were going to do with her in the women's title to feel like a big deal, and I applaud them for that because they really could have driven her into the ground, where they could have had her keep beating all these people or having squash matches every show or whatever until they happened to have her cross paths with Charlotte. And I felt like this was a much better way to go than the way they've gone with other people in the past, when we know that they want them to do something big and they just happen to have them do something else, Mm-hmm. So for me, this was a much better decision than what they've done in the past for that. I mean, speaking of, the man that we were discussing of shoving down throats, Roman Reigns, all of a sudden in a mid-card feud, guys. Not something I think we would have said, even weeks ago. But, the push down is there because of what happened. And as justifiably so, it should be. You have Rusev involved in a match with Mark Henry that was made earlier in the show because Mark Henry is going to be in Rio representing WWE. Of course, former Olympian Mark Henry, and he notes that in his backstage promo where Stephanie sort of tries to tell him, look, man, you're sort of an ambassador. You're sort of the guy that's here to help out the younger people. That's why we drafted you. And Mark Henry's like, man, look, I still got a run in me here. I still want to add people to the Hall of Fame. And Nick Foley's like, all right, man, let's have you in for the U.S. title against Rusev. And thought the match was okay again. Rusev beat him pretty definitively with the accolade. And then we get Roman Reigns coming out to sort of make the save and give Rusev a Superman punch and everything else. And this seems like they're, again, trying to get the crowd to get behind Roman Reigns, and being that they were in why did I forget where they're at today? In Atlanta, mm-hmm. which isn't a smarky city. They were cheering for Roman a little bit. I think you do this, but once again, they're going to have to be finding themselves turning down the volume on the network because Brooklyn is not the best place to be going around trying to get people to cheer the ones you want if you're WWE at this point. So, yeah, that's something to consider. But do you think this is going to work for Roman here? Obviously, Rusev, another great talent for him to work with, and these matches should be good. But do you think WWE is gonna get what they want out of this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to let Paul go, but I'll go. Looking at this, I think actually, no matter what you think about Roman, whether you love him or you hate him, what you do know is Rusev has done a great job of playing the heel and being a good heel, if you ask me personally. It's just, right now, there's not a whole lot of guys that I think would match up as great at this point when it comes to heels, except Kevin Owens against Roman. But if they want to get Roman Reigns to the point where people are starting to get into the mindset of, this guy may not be so bad, I think Rusev's the guy to do it. I mean, I am not a Roman Reigns guy. I never have been. Even when I saw him in that suit in NXT, I hated the guy. He's just annoying. But there's a situation I'm looking at here where, do I hate Roman more or do I hate Rusev? And I'm thinking, I don't really, hate Rusev, but I love to hate him. And Roman doesn't look so bad right now. And a little part of me says this is going to be fun, and I kind of want Roman Reigns to do well. So I like that, and I think maybe there's other people out there like me who say, you know what, this isn't so bad. Roman Reigns facing off against Rusev, I kind of like this. I kind of want to see Roman Reigns do well. So I think it's actually smart on WWE's part. I think this is good.
I think it's a smart idea. This is a good way, I think, to rebuild Reigns. I don't know if you're going to be able to get the fans back on his side anytime soon or anything like that. But him and Reigns, or Rusev and Reigns, have had good chemistry in the past with each other. I mean, these matches we've seen on SmackDown and other stuff, other situations like that in the past, especially whenever they were building Reigns up to the title run there. You just have to be really careful here. You don't want to do any long-term damage to Rusev because I feel like he's a guy you can bank on in the mid-card or even in the main event scene someday. And with Reigns, they've been, there are times where they've made guys look awful against him. And I really would hate to see them cripple Rusev like that, especially have him go in a tailspin after what happened last year when he lost to Cena and all that good stuff. So cautiously optimistic, I think, is a good word here.
Yeah, that's a good thought on it too. And then Rusev's got, good lord, you got Lana in that wedding dress. That I don't know what to say. She looked amazing, and it's.
They really wanted you to know they were married.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Lana she wants to shove that. And you know what? Honestly, it's just like Maurice. It gets heat for Rusev because, everybody knows Lana's hot, and they want to, any guy is going to say, yeah, I want to be there with Lana. So, that kind of makes sense. I think that's also Lana sort of shoving it in whoever's face that she needs to shove it in, of the whole, hey, can't do nothing about this right now. I got that ring right there, He definitely put a ring on, and we got married, and you're going to see the fake wedding on Total Divas and everything else. But, that's, I think Rusev's got a lot going for him right now. It's just like you said, Paul, this could be one of those where this either turns out really bad, because we have seen fans enjoy Rusev in a way, because he's funny, and he's very funny on social media and everything else. And Brooklyn, again, is not it's a sparky city. So you could hear a lot of people chanting for Rusev on purpose. So that's the thing.
I agree. And the thing about Rusev is like I said, he's a guy you love to hate. Can you guys think of anybody else you love to hate? I don't. I'm a big fan of Kevin Owens, so it's kind of hard for me to hate Kevin Owens. But Rusev, I can love to hate him.
Yeah, you can love to hate Kevin Owens too.
I don't know. He could probably burn down a children's orphanage. I'd probably be like, yeah.
That would go along with he's still
Gary.
trying. He wanted. He's his never-ending feud with Generico. Him burning down the orphanages over there that Generico's trying to help. So,
yeah.
But moving on with this Raw, guys. The second hottest free agent on all of WWE. Don't hinder that Jinder, because he is back after giving a nasty Yakuza kick to Heath Slater in about 4 seconds. I guess this is Heath Slater's new gimmick. Everybody's going to debut and beat up Heath Slater. That should be the new hashtag. Forget beat up John Cena. Beat up Heath Slater. That should be the new hashtag for him.
Well, this is the first time. This is the I guess maybe just the second time he's done this. But remember when all the legends were coming out leading up to Raw 1000? Sure. Here we go again.
Heath Slater works wonderfully in this role. But did anybody expect some great reaction for Jinder Mahal here with the 2-man band, guys?
Clearly somebody did. Clearly somebody back there thought these guys are going to care about Jinder, and Lord knows I didn't. Hey, Heath Slater. Oh, he's got Jinder with him.
I still think Jinder Mahal's best thing was when he was facing Seth Rollins in that NXT tournament. That was the only time I really liked him. Because they kind of let him be a bit different than we'd seen. He was being a big heel. He was being the stereotype, obviously, too, but it was working for him, you know? I mean, I know, Gary, you remember reviewing those old NXTs, and we talked about that. Just, it sucks he never got to reach that potential, you know?
Exactly. You know, I liked him a lot in NXT. If you go back and listen to those shows, you're probably thinking, man, this guy's a Mahal fan. But, you know, really in the main roster just didn't do much. Then they didn't allow him to do much. But I did like him a lot in NXT, and I think he has potential. It's just really, I don't think they feel like they have a lot to work with. So he'll probably just do his normal job out role and move on. You know, that's what it is, I guess, with this guy.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It seems like a lot of these veterans, and there's a big rumor going around of someone who we might see on the SmackDown show, on the female side, that might show up. So, it's going to be interesting how many weeks we're going to have this before somebody shows up again until they run out of people that they've signed. Because whenever Kurt Hawkins shows up, I'm sure there's just going to be so many people just clamoring for, oh my God, Kurt Hawkins again, guys! Like. That's just the total guy I wanted. And it's the same thing. Like I don't think there's going to be this huge deal for Shelton Benjamin either. And they made a big deal about him. And I don't know if there's going to be this big old reaction for him either. So they might want to temper expectations. And one of the things that kind of bothered me about the Roman thing is that, again, that I know WWE's probably not even like, they might want to be trolling us, knowing that we're thinking of other people, but that promo that Rusev was cutting, that just felt like, where is Kurt Angle right now?
Yes.
Where is Kurt Angle right now? And we get Roman Reigns instead, And it's just kind of like, oh man, what a letdown.
Yep. You kept waiting for the dun da da dun da. Yeah, I kept waiting for it too, but I think they may be trolling us. I really feel like that.
Reigns got the red gear. You think even Marie is in his future?
You know what? That would not be bad at all. Just get the two heat getters together and just... But, you'd have to turn Roman, of course. But,
He'd also have to do some show trading between Raw and SmackDown, too, for Eva to end up on Raw.
And they made Eva seem like the biggest deal on SmackDown, and I'm sure that's going to continue. So, I mean, speaking
Just imagine the Wyatt Hart.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Speaking of someone, moving between shows, that Brock Lesnar main event, which was, is Paul Heyman, new contract now, him talking, what he does best, putting over Brock and everything, and downplaying that RKO out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Randy Orton to RKO the crap out of Brock Lesnar, and then I very much like that immediately Stephanie and Foley were out to make it known he's not supposed to be there. We're not making this no big deal about the fact that Orton's over here and stuff. That's good. It's very good that even though they know that they're breaking the brand extension, this match was made before the extension was made, but they're also making it known, hey, look, we're not just letting these guys go from one show to the other without there being some kind of consequence. So I thought that was well done, and it really made a nice ending to everything. Did you like that, Paul?
Not particularly. For one, this wasn't one of Heyman's better promos. For the other, I still can't believe they're letting, all this fly after Brock's, stuff with the getting popped over at UFC and all those other things. But you just made the brand extension, and we're already crossing that boundary. If this is the only time they do it, then fine. I very much doubt this is going to be the only time we see it. And it really, really bugs me that they're already breaking the rules. And whatever, it was made before the brand extension, blah, 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 but just build it on your own shows, make it feel like this big thing when they're finally in the ring together. No big deal. Easy booking, and we go this route, which is whatever. The crowd popped big, I guess that's all that matters, but I'm not a fan, personally.
I mean, technically in a dark match, they had AJ and Cena on that Raw as well. But, it's a dark match, so...
Right, yeah, yeah.
But, Gary, I mean, what did you think of seeing Randy Orton and the surprise there to end the the show. I mean, I thought the same thing as Paul. That was the first thing. My first reaction was, oh crap, they already broke the brand extension. But then watching the segment, I was like, well, this was actually a good end to a segment. I don't know that I can hate it too much, but I just hope this doesn't happen all the time. And technically, this is sort of the only cross-promoted show, cross-brand match that they're seeming to have on this show. So,
that's my thing. I totally agree with what Paul said. This is to me something that didn't need to take place. They could have built it on their own shows, kind of really got things settled that way instead of having to do this. This to me is just a way to shock you, to get you excited or something like that. But it wasn't anything you haven't seen before, and it is what it is. But I still have that weirdness about Brock Lesnar because of all the controversy. It's just kind of odd. I think it's like the elephant in the room is not being addressed, but here he is. So just basically the ending. I think it works. You're going to have, people, talking about this. But the thing about it is, for me, is does Brock get his comeuppance? And when is it? Are we getting Brock on SmackDown Live? That's my big thing. Is he going to do that? Or is that not going to happen because he's Brock Lesnar and he does what he wants to do? That's the thing. I don't know.
I mean, I saw some people saying that maybe Randy Orton's doing it because he knows Brock won't show up on SmackDown, or he thinks Brock won't show up on SmackDown. So, maybe Randy Orton wants to deliver that first strike, being the Viper and everything, and who knows. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we've expanded a little bit on the Darren Young thing with Bob Backlund, and now his old tag team. You know what I did appreciate about everything on this show? Even if it was small, they gave you context for everything that was happening. Every match had some kind of context, had some kind of promo, had some kind of backstage segment, something. That is a total step in the right direction for them, I feel, because how many times, guys, did we have matches on Raw that we're going to like, why the hell is this happening right now? And then they would just keep having the same random match over and over and over. And at least they're understanding that you need to give context to, even if it's a small storyline, it's better than not having anything at all. I mean, do you feel like this continues, or we're just getting a 1 week thing that they're sort of touching on?
It seems like something they're invested in. Giving context, giving meaning, shaping people, which is a total step in the right direction. I mean, the crowd wasn't too into this. I can't say I was particularly thrilled by it, but Titus looked pretty vicious during the match, which I appreciate, and I did enjoy the backstage segment. Just because Bob Backlund's a nut and he's hilarious and amuses me to no end.
He's so mad about Titus cheating, and Titus is like, "I'm gonna whoop your ass."
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is great. I like this feud. Simply because of the fact that it does bring up history, and it does bring up some things maybe that has not been said, kind of like, hey, what Tyler said. When were you great? That's a big deal. People have been saying that for a long time, but now they finally addressed it, So I'm happy about that. And, the Bob Backlund thing between Titus and himself, it was pretty funny. I can't lie. You got to love Bob Backlund.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can hate Bob Backlund. He's just too awesome. I mean, something that I certainly didn't hate either is New Day. Much better in recovering in this promo this week instead of the bad one from this week. And Sonny Boy, he's actually a wrestler. And he is, I've seen him in a couple of groups promoting himself and everything. So he is an indie talent. That is his name. So, just for those wondering, maybe go, who the hell is this Sonny Boy guy? But, I thought this was much better. The tease of the low-hanging fruit that Xavier did not ultimately participate in there at the end by stopping himself and understanding, whoa, that's too far, guys. It's too far. This was, it was funny. I liked it. And we get Anderson and Gallows against New Day, but man, so quick already to make Anderson and Gallows kind of look bad. and then they try to save it by Anderson and Gallows just getting a really big heat segment there at the end. I mean, is this one of those, did you feel like it hurt Anderson and Gallows, or did the ending stuff help kind of ease that a bit for you?
And they haven't been booked particularly strong the whole time they've been here. Why start now, right? Well, I mean, they're building heat on them slowly but surely. But I mean, a win here by even cheating would have been helpful, I think.
Gary, anything for you?
Looking at it, I didn't mind it so much because they were standing tall at the end of the day. That's really where I kind of judge it. I think some people may say, well, the meat of it is, not so great. But at the end of the day, people a lot of times remember some of the last things they saw. And the last thing you saw was them, holding up this and, basically being ready to move on and, do what they're going to do. So I think that's the big thing for me. They were victorious. They looked strong in the end. Not thrilled with the meat of it, but at least it is a victory for these guys. They haven't had a ton of them when it comes to, John Cena and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? They've treated Gallows and Anderson kind of like what they've been. They did get a lot of boos for what they were doing afterwards, so at least the crowd responded to them, which is a good thing. Another thing, I thought one of the biggest examples of adding the context that they did was having Cesaro and Sheamus fighting in backstage with Stephanie and Mick Foley, and then bringing up the whole, like, oh, we heard that you guys weren't too excited about where you got drafted and everything, and so they had them have a match against each other. And of course, as Paul always say, how can you complain about having Cesaro and Sheamus in a match with each other? Another case here for you of Cesaro and Sheamus delivering, or at least Cesaro won.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. I think they booked it really well because Sheamus still looks pretty strong in this, even though he gets caught with the neutralizer to lose. But I love it. These guys beat the hell out of each other. I love it. It was 6 minutes of hard hits, a lot of really good moves. I enjoyed this.
Surprisingly enough, Sheamus is involved in something that I can care about, and this is something that's actually interesting. These guys work well together. That's what's most important to me. So, besides that, I'm thrilled with, Cesaro being the victor here.
And then we get into our main part of the show. Well, the main interest of the entire SummerSlam, probably for a lot of people, is what's going on with that WWE Universal Championship. And you have a nice promo segment, I thought, with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Rollins doing a lot of the talking so that Finn doesn't have to do much of the talking. I like the fact that somebody brought up Rollins' terrible laugh, but I don't know that Balor delivered it so well. I mean, the total just not anything for the audience was funny. And then you had a very, very good match between Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn to sort of close out the wrestling part of the show where we got to Brock. I mean, how do you feel that they handled this in week 2 of Rollins and Balor here?
Looking at this, I mean, I think that, sadly, Finn and Seth did not get a fair shake when it came to the crowd. I think that would have been better in a hotter crowd, or a crowd that maybe was more up for it, because Finn made a few jokes and they just fell so flat. So saying all that, I mean, it didn't feel great, but it wasn't bad. I could kind of tell, these guys were doing fine. I don't think it was their fault. And the match itself, I mean, how could you not enjoy Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn? I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a great, match.
Finn is a tricky subject because as hard as they're pushing him, a majority of the WWE audience that watches every week still is learning who this guy is, and you're going to get some quiet segments like this. I think they popped when they needed to. Like whenever he told Seth he was going to hand him his ass at SummerSlam, he got a pretty decent pop there. So I think, just working his way through all that, and he's never been terrific on promos either, so it's a learned thing he's going through still too. Seth and Sami was great though. I kind of bummed that Sami lost clean, but he looked good in the match too. I think they booked well to his strengths, and Seth still looks like the total devious bastard that he is. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and Atlanta got Seth Rollins pretty good with the tomahawk chop there in the middle of the promo. just telling them that he's like, "Oh, your team sucks. Just get over."
Yeah. Not enough tomahawk chops in the world to save the Braves, guys.
At one point, they were
man.
good. Just it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sell tons of merchandise.
Hey, it's just like the Cowboys,
Yeah, that's
We
right.
haven't been good for a while, but we still sell merchandise. But that'll do it for Raw. Basically, I did like Heyman getting at the fans for still booing the fact that Brock beat the streak 2 years later too. That was good. He's like, "Oh, y'all are still mad about that? Get over it, guys." Just whatever. So all right, we got to give a rating out of 10 for Raw this evening. What do you think?
I got an opportunity to watch all of it, and at the end of the day, I think they did some things that were pretty darn awesome, and then there were some things that kind of fell flat for me. Not thrilled with. I'm kind of in the middle of the road here. I hate to say it's below average or anything, so I'm going to give them a pretty nice, fair rating. I want to go with a 6, but I'm going to go ahead and give them a 7. I'm feeling a little, generous tonight, I think.
Very generous, I think, because I was thinking 6.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, certainly a drop-off from last week, but almost anything was going to be a drop-off from last week. It was going to be very hard to equal what they did, and having the title change and having the big matches and everything. And I will give them credit. I think I saw about 4 commercials for American Alpha's debut on SmackDown.
Yep.
So a lot of credit to USA and WWE for making sure that they at least made SmackDown feel important the next night. But going on to this show, I'm gonna go with Paul in the 6. Seems about right. It was a above average show. You had the very good match with Zayn and Rollins, and the fun stuff at the beginning, even though it went a little long, and some nice things in between. But sort of felt a little bit more of WWE kind of going on their laurels and doing a little bit of things that we know that they're used to doing, and hopefully they work out the kinks, and very, very much applaud the adding context to everything. Hopefully SmackDown continues that as well on the next night. So, Gary, that's it.
All right, yeah, we're done with this Raw review. We appreciate everybody coming and checking us out. And if you want to come check out the rest of this week's shows, we're just going to let everybody know on the download on Tuesday morning and Friday morning, you'll have 2 parts of our regular episodes of Wrestling to the Max. Go check those out. We'll also be doing SmackDown Live. That's right, that'll be on Tuesday night following SmackDown Live. And we'll be getting into all that. And, of course, that'll also be available on the download for you guys on Wednesday morning. So go check that out. Of course, if you are listening on the audio podcast, go check out YouTube. We're hoping to have these videos up so you can actually see us, even though that may not be such a great thing. You may want to go back to the audio. And so just to let you know that's available. Also, don't forget the W2M Network. We want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. Go subscribe there. It's a great place to get podcasts.
And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on right now if you're watching the video podcast, because that has all the podcasts by themselves there,
Exactly. So there you go. That's pretty much all the information you need to know. Come check us out. We appreciate everybody who watched us tonight. And, of course, we'll be back once again on SmackDown Live to review that one, too. But until then, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.